Welcome, everyone. Really excited to see everyone here tonight for our virtual PanOhio Hope Ride introduction at one of our Enrichment series events. And I'm really excited tonight to hear from our staff members and some panelists that represent riders who have been here over a decade to riders who just started riding this year. So my name is Stacey McGrath. I'm the volunteer event chair here with my husband, Daryl McGrath, and just want to welcome a lot of familiar faces plus some new people here to hear about PanOhio. So I do want to dive right in, but I want to start by just introducing our staff members tonight. I know most of you probably heard that Sarah Morris has moved on to the ACS Cancer Action Network, and we're super excited at this tremendous opportunity for her to make a huge impact in advocacy. But we're going to miss her on our event, but super excited to see her here as a rider as well. But I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to hear from our other staff members. They're going to be hosting our panel discussion tonight. So I just want to start by letting each of them share for a couple minutes what brought them to ACS, how long they've been with ACS, and sort of what PanOhio means to them. So for our first staff spotlight, I'll stop sharing for a moment so you can focus on Alyssa talking, but I just want to hear a little bit staff spotlight on Alyssa Hancock. Take it away, Alyssa.
Hi guys, how are you? Hope everyone is doing well. So I'm Alyssa Hancock. I live in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and I have just hit my 10-year anniversary with the American Cancer Society. So I've been here for quite some time now, and I love it. I've loved every second of it. I was originally in Relay for Life, and I did Relay for Life for about 5 years. And then the second half of my career has been with PanOhio. So this is my 5th season, I think. Thank you so much, Sarah. I got it chopped. So this is my, I think, 5th season with PanOhio, and I'm super excited, to get rolling. I have a great staff team and even awesome volunteers, and it's been great getting to know all of the riders. But yeah, and I would say, I don't know if this is a thing, but my favorite part of PanOhio is just how great of a family it really is. And when people say the PanOhio family, it is so true and so accurate, because our riders, volunteers, and staff, we have this awesome bond, this incredible experience. We do this ride for 4 days. It actually ends up more like a week by the time we've done start to finish of the event. Countless hours, everyone's exhausted, but it is the most incredible experience. So I'm super excited for those of you who are new to join us on this journey, and welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and I think turn it back to Stacey to introduce our next staff.
Thank you. Super excited. And yeah, love your hair. It's super cute. Thank you. All right. So our other staff member, I'll just let Olivia Leonard introduce herself and how she joined us here on PanOhio.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
First, I guess you can just see her too. Stop my sharing now so you can focus on Olivia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia Lenhard, like Stacey said. I have been with the American Cancer Society for almost 2 years now, and this will be my second PanOhio. Before this, I was in Chicago doing different type of events, and then got the opportunity. Well, I got engaged, and my fiance is from Shaker Heights, so we decided to make the move over here, and I was so lucky that there was a position available. And that's when I got introduced to PanOhio. And maybe I'm biased, but my first year at PanOhio was absolutely incredible. Alyssa's right. It's like a family. I've never seen an event like this, and I'm just so excited for next year. So I'm very happy to be here, and hopefully this year I can get to know all of you a little more individually. But yeah, I'm really excited. So thanks. Back to Stacey.
Thanks. Super excited to have you on board. It was great the way you kind of joined us in the spring and hit the ground running coming into the event. Rounding out our staff spotlight, I have some exciting news that we actually just kind of found out about in the last day or two. But as I mentioned, certainly we'll miss Sarah and wish her the best with moving on to her new opportunity. Glad she's joining us as a rider this year. But I'm really excited to announce that hiring moved along pretty quickly. We got some great candidates, and an offer was made and accepted to a new staff partner to join us this year in the Southern Ohio area. So I'm super excited to introduce our new staff member, and I'll just let him introduce himself and say a couple of words about his background. But I'd love to give a big PanOhio welcome to Bob Duncan.
Hey, Bob. Thank you. So my name's Bob Duncan. I've been doing endurance sports since I was 15 years old, which now means over 4 decades. I did my first century ride when I was 14 years old. And throughout my life, I continued. My first real career was the Marine Corps, which was fantastic because I got to do all kinds of endurance sports all over the world. As part of my career path, I've had a specialty retail triathlon store. I started a coaching business. I coached the world record holder for the Ironman on the bike leg. I've had several professional athletes that I've coached. I've worked with one of Pan Ohio's own, Carrie McCoy. I coached Carrie for a handful of years. Went to New Zealand with her and watched her do Ironman New Zealand along with a couple other pros I've had. I've been in sales and a lot of customer service roles. And I'm at the point in the career where I was just really excited to have an opportunity to do something that I really love and bring all those skills that I've acquired over the several decades, an event that really is near and dear to my heart. And I met with Stacy today, and I can't tell you how amazed I was at how well this organization's already functions. Like I told her at one point, I think I'll just go try to raise a bunch of money and like hand it off to you guys and let you run your show. Because it really was impressive what you guys have done. So I'm just super excited. I start officially January 9th, and I let Stacy or the staff share my info. So if anybody wants to contact me, I'm happy to hear from you.
Welcome, Bob. Excited to have you. And again, thanks for making the drive over to Columbus for lunch today. It was great to meet you. And yeah, I'm super excited. I think I don't know if a lot of people know, Pan Ohio is this really amazing team effort between this staff partnership of ACS staff members and a tremendous executive volunteer committee, and then a committee of people across the state that participate in getting this together. Huge team effort, and we're just excited to welcome you to the team, Bob. So glad you're here. Glad you could join us tonight. See a few of our faces, and we look forward to you coming on board with us full time in January. So yeah, with that, want to dive in. Hear from the staff, Alyssa and Olivia, who have been with us a little longer as they interview 3 of our panelists. Couple quick housekeeping notes. Olivia is going to be taking attendance tonight. If you are a registered rider, you do get 5 Pan Ohio incentive points just for attending this evening. And we're going to be raffling off some additional attendance or incentive points at the end. So she's taking attendance for the points and for the raffle. So if you have a name that like iPhone or something that's not your full name, Olivia may be sending you a private text message throughout the call sometime to get your full name, so we make sure we can get you credit. If you have any questions during it, please throw them in the chat. We want this to be interactive, so we want to know, what do you want to know from our panelists tonight? So please feel free to throw things in the chat if you have any questions, if you want to add your own thoughts and experiences. We just want to make this really interactive. We want to hear from everyone. We can open it up to people asking direct questions at the end as well. But with that, I'm just going to share my screen one more time before I turn it off for a while. And just welcome our panelists tonight. I'm super excited by this trio of panelists because, like I said, we kind of have a super amazing range of experience. So Tony Harbert's here tonight. He rode Pan Ohio for the first time last year. So just this year. Ben Heil, who's been with us, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, I think 4 years, but just joined our executive committee this year. And Brian Bortz, who's also part of our executive committee and has been with us for over a decade. So we will let them all introduce themselves and tell their story as we get into questions, but I'm going to turn this back over to our hosts for the evening, Alyssa and Olivia, and they'll kick it off with asking our panelists some questions.
All right. Let's see who's going to be our first question is going to go to who? Let's see. All right. So obviously, we definitely have a wide range of experience involved with this event. But I'm really excited to hear obviously about some of our new experiences. So Tony, I hate to do this to you, but as our newest rider on the panel, I'm kind of interested as to, you to be able to share how you learned about Pan Ohio. Part of that reasoning is because I think it's really important for us to hear about ways that we can be sharing the word about Pan Ohio and getting the word out there and marketing and recruiting new riders. So how did you hear about Pan Ohio, and what has it meant to you and in the time that you've been with us?
Sure, pick on the new kid first. That's okay, Alyssa. But that's good. I heard about it from someone that every single one of you probably knows here. And he basically challenged me, and that was Jim Bond. He was doing a support call that I was on, and he was sharing information. He brought up the ride, and I read an article he wrote 3 years ago when I was diagnosed. I have the same blood cancer that he has, multiple myeloma. And so I emailed him from that article, never really expecting to, hear from him, but he replied in like 5 minutes. So we've kind of stayed in touch by email, but then he was on that support call and he challenged me. He just said, Tony, you should do this ride this year, because he had mentioned it to the group. And I said, wow, I'm a runner. I haven't touched my bike in over 20 years, and he didn't let me off the hook. He said, I wasn't a rider the first year I did it either. And so I said, all right, I'll consider it, and I started riding some with a friend that I had run with for years. And he was a rider now, he is a rider, and helped me stretch out my rides to like 60 miles. And we just had a blast riding on the trails and stuff. And so that started getting the rides out longer. I still had some doubts. And at that point, my wife's brother unfortunately passed from melanoma, and I think it was 4 or 5 weeks before the event, and I still hadn't 100% committed. And when that happened, I just said, that's it, I'm doing this, I got to do it. And as Bill will tell you, because he rode a lot of miles, Bill and Brian both together, I told Bill that one day in the storm, I have to ride every mile. I can't sag in. I gotta do this. And so that was it. Jim challenged me, Jim Bond, and his wife Kathleen was on that call as well. And just to echo the one comment, last thing I'll say is that's been said here a bunch of times, is it was amazing. Like from the moment I got out of the car in the parking lot and was nervous about where do I go, a person parked next to me, started helping me. And then I saw Bill pretty quickly, and he helped me to hook up with Brian, who was in charge of new riders last year. So, and then it just stayed that way for 4 days. Family, friends, met so many people. I see Lori sitting there with Bill, and like the volunteers were freaking amazing. And I know from running and doing events like this, you can't do it without the volunteers. So they were fantastic as well. But I really enjoyed it. It was an amazing experience. I still tell people about it. So thankful I did it. Back to you, Stacy.
Awesome, Olivia.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Tony. All right, my next question is going to go to Ben. Could you tell us what your first Pan Ohio experience was like and how long you've been riding?
Yeah, so my first Pan Ohio experience for myself was in 2019. My dad actually started in 2018, and that's how I kind of found out about Pan Ohio. My first ride, I had not really ever ridden a bike over long distance, more than what you would ride as a kid. So I got my bike on Black Friday at a store was going out of business. So I got a really good deal on it. But the actual ride was hard. It was a challenge for me. I thought I did okay training, and then man, that first day just kind of hit me real hard. I forgot the importance of like eating, because you need calories, and just after lunch I just felt so awful. But it was just such a great experience riding with everybody, and I got to ride with my dad for a little bit, which was awesome. But each day is hard for its own reason, and I think the recognition dinner on kind of helps like make everything that you've poured into the last 2 days makes it worth it in my mind. And because that day 3, the first year I rode, was also really hard, and I was like, man, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? And then at the recognition dinner, you know, I think Sarah talked that year, and we were just all having a good time. And I signed up again for 2020 that night after talking trash all day about how hard it was. But you know, ever since then, I've been hooked. 2020 was a lost year. 2020, my daughter was born in August, so I didn't get to ride, but my little brother rode for me and for my dad. And then 2022, I was back riding again. And here I am every year. I feel like I just get more and more into it. So that first year was fantastic, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world.
That's awesome. And it's really special to hear that you got to ride with your dad, but definitely a note, you got to eat before you ride.
Yeah, those calories are important. I learned this year. I did great this year eating. I don't think I lost any weight. I gained weight.
Oh my God. All right, I'll hand it off to Alyssa for this next one.
Awesome. All right. So Brian, my question to you is, what is like one thing that Brian, for those of you that don't know, works very closely with our new riders. He's our new rider mentor, and he has provided some really incredible feedback and tips and tricks for our new riders for the past few years. So Brian, what would you say is one thing that you wish you would have known as a first-time rider your very first year with Pan Ohio? And if you can also give us a little overview also of how long you've been riding and kind of what Pan Ohio means to you as well.
Sure. Okay. So I've been riding since 2009, and I've ridden every year since then. So trying to think way back to what I wish I knew. That's a long time ago. You know, I guess I wish I knew that it's easier than you think to fundraise. Because I know that's what keeps a lot of people, you know, that's kind of what holds a lot of people back. And I'm not one who likes to actually in person go up to people and ask them for money, but, you know, I'll put it out there on Facebook every day, all year round, and on my email and everything. And so, you know, I think that's probably, you know, one of the things, how tough. I see Doug put something in the chat there. But, you know, as far as what it means to me, you know, I started riding because my mom is a breast cancer survivor for, 18 or 19 years now. So it was, you know, relatively recent when I started riding. And then I just, you know, I keep adding to the list of people I ride for, in honor of, and in memory of. And, you know, as everyone else has said, it really does feel like a family, and you really look forward to seeing people who you haven't seen for a while or don't get to see often, and just, you know, to make that difference, doing something that's fun.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for sharing your why too.
Yeah.
You did mention something about fundraising, so I'm gonna shoot this next question over to Tony. Where do you get your fundraising? It's kind of a two-part question. Where do you get your fundraising ideas, and what have been the most successful fundraising methods that you've used?
Yeah. I was one of those ones, like Brian said, I was a little concerned about. I thought, oh man, am I gonna be able to do that? And I didn't want to ask people either, but I found out really quickly that is not an issue at all. You just put the word out there. So many of us have been affected, our family members, our friends, ourselves, with cancer, that it amazed me how quickly and freely they donated, and even some of the amounts that some of them did, you know, and it was no problem at all hitting that minimum number. I like a challenge, and I'm pretty competitive. So I'm gonna try and beat my number from last year. Good Lord willing, as long as I'm still feeling good, I want to definitely do the ride again this year. I can tell you, email and Facebook were my main two sources that I would put it out. And I can tell you it was greatly challenged on Facebook because they tend to censor some of us and lower our rankings if we make a political comment they don't like. And unfortunately, they lowered my rankings like for 90 days. And so like, I know there's lots of my Facebook friends and family that never even saw, you know, that I was doing it. But Facebook and email were the main two that, you know, I got a lot of funds from.
I jump in real quick with Facebook. One, you know, couple things that I find are helpful there are if you create an event rather than just posting something, because then you can invite people. But also if you tag people, then they will, you know, they're more likely to see it as opposed to just a straight up post.
Good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, because I know stuff does get buried. You're right, and you know, people don't always see everything or aren't on for a few days.
Making a note, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. So just a quick little recap of the chat that we have going on. So Mike asked a really great question about what is the fundraising commitment and expectation for new riders. And Sarah, I'll get back to your question too that's geared toward Tony. I didn't skip it. But just to kind of touch on the fundraising, so for a 4-day rider, we do ask for a minimum of $1,328. So $1,328. A lot of times, especially Mike, and for anyone else new, we use $328 a lot with this ride. You'll hear it kind of coming out in quite a few different ways, but 328 miles was when the Pan Ohio first originated. That was the distance that the ride was exactly. And it was from the distance from one Hope Lodge to another Hope Lodge. So that's kind of where that 328 number comes from. It's in a lot of our branding. We are kind of working our way away from it because we do tend to fluctuate in our mileage. Last year, I think we were upwards of 350. But that's kind of where that 328 comes in. So you may hear us refer to 328 a lot. So for 4-day riders, it's that minimum of $1,328. 2-day rider, the fundraising minimum is $750, and our 1-day rider minimum is $500 for fundraising. So just a little bit of an overview on that. And we do have all that information on the website as well. And so Tony, there is a question for you in the chat. As a first-time rider, what would you say was the hardest part to overcome last year?
Boy, I was between Bill and Brian and so many others. I had so many good people helping me along the way that, and all the volunteers. What was hard? I don't know. I was just so pumped the whole time. Bill would probably tell you that. I probably talked his ear off, but we kind of hit a friendship and just were able to talk the whole time. Maybe it was after I fell. I bruised a couple ribs front and back, and especially, you know, I was a little sore that day finishing, but the 4th day, especially getting on the bike, might have been my most challenging part. And I just told them I felt like it was kind of appropriate after watching friends and family I knew that were in pain from cancer, that I was finishing, you know, in a little bit of pain myself. And I don't know, it was just, I just enjoyed the whole thing. Honestly, it was hard. It was emotional. It was, but it was a lot of fun too, you know, and very meaningful. I'm so thankful that I got to do that. So, yeah. Did I answer it that time? I hope
You
so.
did great. Yes, you did. You absolutely did. And thank you so much for sharing. We have been so excited to have you, and your positivity and excitement is so wonderful. We absolutely love it. So thank you.
Good.
We really appreciate you, Tony. So a couple other questions coming up through the chat. So there's some questions about logistics. I know we're a little bit all over the place here, but I, want to hit some of these important topics. So logistics, I'm going to throw this one at Brian. So Brian, do you want to give a little bit of a logistics? Like if, we've got new riders on here that are like, I need the 411 on exactly how this event works logistically. Can you give us a little bit of an overview? Some things to make sure to hit on are overnight stays, how you get from the start to the finish, luggage, maybe a couple of those things, and food, I would think is important too.
Sure, thanks.
Thank
So,
you.
I mean, I would say first off, it's got to be the best supported multi-day cycling event that's out there. As far as things like luggage goes, you show up at the start line with your luggage, you take it to your dorm that night. But then in the morning, there are signs that show what dorm you're staying in the following night. So you drop your luggage, volunteers load it on a truck, take it to the next stop, drop it in your dorm at the next stop, and that's throughout the ride. Food, there are food and hydration stops roughly every 15 to 20 miles. There's really no excuse to be hungry or thirsty. If it's super hot, the volunteers will put up pop-up stops a lot of times, but especially between the longer stretches, just for make sure everybody stays hydrated. Let's see, you can, most people stay in the dorms at the colleges, but you can camp outside the dorms. A few people will do hotels. That's kind of up to personal preference. But again, it's just super well supported. You really don't have to worry about your gear at all. Like I said, just, pack it up and drop it off, and you'll find it when you get to your next stop. Mechanical support is great too. We have different bike shops that follow us along the way, and they're always willing to help us out. At lunch stops, water stops, morning, evening. The medical crew is great. The SAG team keeps an eye on all of us. I don't know. Like I said, it's great.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, a couple other things just to add about logistics. Mike, if you don't mind, where are you located? If you don't mind coming off mute for a second, I'm just curious. Okay, it's okay if not, if you don't come off mute. But I was just going to use your specifics as an example. But so, for example, say you are located in the Columbus market. All of our different markets have, oh, hold on, new laptop. Cleveland. Hi. Okay, good. Awesome, Mike. You're in Cleveland. So you've actually, in this instance, have it pretty easy. Basically, we do have a bus from every market. Okay, so we have a Columbus bus, a Dayton bus, and a Cincinnati bus. And we are in the works and talks, if we have enough people, of possibly getting an Akron Canton bus. So hold tight on that. We used to have one years ago. But so basically, our riders are getting bussed in from their location, right? So our Cincinnati riders show up, they get on a bus, their luggage goes under said bus, and their bike actually gets very safely loaded onto a U-Haul truck, a Penske that we utilize for the entirety of the weekend. So the bus gets then transported from wherever your location is, your bike, your luggage, and your person, all the way up to Cleveland. So as of right now, John Carroll, still, things a little bit up in the air there, but to our starting location. So Cleveland riders then would just arrive to our start location. You're obviously not getting bussed right from there, if that makes sense. So we have a big kickoff dinner on Wednesday night. And sometimes our Cleveland riders will choose to stay in the dorms so that they can, be there and ready to go Thursday morning. Some of our Cleveland riders then will, come up on Thursday morning. They'll just come for the dinner, go home and sleep in their own bed, and kind of come back in the morning. Total personal preference. We do very in-depth surveys along the way to find out exactly what your needs are. Mike, for example, you might say that you don't want to stay in the dorm your first night. We cater your specific lodging requests to you. Not everyone's lodging requests are the same, which is also crazy. I mean, we have some people staying in dorms certain nights, going home to a friend's house another night. You tell us what works for you and we make it happen. So definitely awesome, great, crazy logistics. So then on day 4, when you finish at that finish line in Cincinnati, you're all being bussed back home, unless you live in Cincinnati and now you're home, right? If you live in Cleveland, you're doing the same thing as those Cincinnati riders did day 1. You're going to get on a bus, your luggage is going in the bus, and your bike is going safely, nice and wrapped and beautifully stacked in the Penske truck, and that's being taken back to Cleveland. We have shower trucks at the finish line. We have a huge meal for you at the finish line. So much food throughout the week. It's crazy. People say they eat more on Pan Ohio than they do not during Pan Ohio. Yes, the shower trucks rock. Lots of beer. So much beer.
I was just gonna come up to you and say a ton of beer.
Free
So
beer,
much.
free
You guys
free
are set.
beer,
Free
free
beer.
beer.
Oh yeah.
Free
yeah.
beer all the time. It's crazy. But yeah, so logistically, as our as Brian had said, it's a well-oiled machine. We've got it down to a science. It just works. It's really great. It's awesome to see, like, riders can literally show up. They worry about them and their bike, and that's it. The rest is handled. Your luggage ends up at your dorm at the college for you, not in your room. That we did that once. I think that was kind of chaos, but we have your luggage waiting for you at the dorm. You grab your luggage and you go to your room, you shower, your food's provided. If you forgot something, if you forgot some Advil, you need some BioFreeze because your legs are hurting, we've got you covered. We've got sunscreen, we've got water, we've got Gatorade. It may be watermelon. I cannot guarantee that it won't be. If it is,
Not
I'm
inflatable
sorry.
pillows.
Oh, we will not ever we will make sure you always have a real pillow. Pillowgate 2019 was a thing. We had inflatable pillows. We will never let that happen again. Paul Purdy saved the day with an IKEA run. So it's great. If anyone needs more information on that one day, let us know. But yes, the beer is free, Hank. Yes, it is. All weekend long, or week. I guess it's like a week. It's crazy.
Did you mention the peanut M&Ms yet?
I did not. Do you want to tell them about the peanut M&Ms?
Tons. Like you guys.
So many peanut M&Ms and pickle juice. Now we have pickle juice. So literally, you name it. Our water stops are not just water. You're not just getting a little cup of water to, no. You've got your first aid station at every single water stop. You've got your snacks. You've got your Gatorade, usually rotating flavors throughout the day, minus the year 2021, which we don't go back to watermelon. So lots of different things. Yes, you basically need, as Doug said, you basically show up with your bike and Pan Ohio takes the lead from there. It really is. Our goal is to make it so that you have nothing else to focus on except getting yourself from point A to point B. I know someone in the chat had asked a question about what happens if I can't finish the day. Like Ben had said, I think it was Ben had said that, he didn't know if, maybe it was Tony, things are already blurring together, but someone had mentioned that they had not trained basically for a century day. I think that was Tony. Had only done 60 miles. Well, what happens if you can't get past that 60 and it's a 100-mile day? We do have the support and gear team, and they are incredible. Our support and gear team know where our riders are at on the route the entire event. So you are being not like tracked, but like we know exactly where our riders are and are able to support you throughout the ride. If someone falls or someone gets hurt, we have our own ambulance team that is on, yes, not in a creepy way, but they are watching. We have our own ambulance team that is on staff with us the entirety of the week, and they are the ones that, yes, the pickle juice was in a box. It was really heavy. Some people really like it. I don't know. Yeah. Yes. Right. Michael, you had the pickle juice, right? Did you like it? No, that was it. Anyway, so lots of different things. We try our best to please everybody. That doesn't always happen. Maybe another time we can get the pickle juice in the bottles. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, like I said, lots of great things with Pan Ohio. The logistics are crazy. I forget exactly where I was at because I interrupted myself. yeah, if you have specific logistics questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and let us know. Olivia, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to hear from all three of our panelists, but Ben, I'll start with you. Can you tell me, we're going to go through all three of you, but can you tell me your favorite memory of Pan Ohio Hope Ride thus far?
Yeah. It has to be the pillow gate of 2019. So we were staying at, I think it was Otterbein, in Columbus, and this was my first year doing it. My dad was telling me about, they have linens, you don't need a pillow, like the pillows are provided, all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'll pack a blanket, maybe. I didn't have a pillow. I had like toiletries and that was lit. So we come into Otterbein, and I think it was either a short day or a long day. I can't remember exactly, but I was beat. And I'm like, man, I just can't wait to like lie down and go to sleep. And we get our bag of linens. And I forget who, I think it was Sarah. Sarah's like, yeah, your pillow's in there. And I said, where? And there was this straw that you had to put like in the pillow, and you had to inflate it yourself with your own air. And let me tell you, those things were the most uncomfortable thing that I had ever seen in my entire life. And I guess I was the first one to mention it to somebody, because I was so very confused. And I don't know what happened then, because someone, there might have been a bottle of whiskey that was been passing around. And then what do you know? We had pillows from IKEA that we got to keep. And it was just a blast. And I'll never forget it for as long as I live, because that was so much fun. And like, there's nothing that bonds a group of strangers faster than everyone complaining about the same thing immediately. So it was definitely that. And then the flying monkeys at the recognition dinner was always a good time.
Can I jump in for a sec? I don't mean to interrupt, but I just
You're
want to
good.
say, first I'm like, how is this your favorite memory? But then you came around to it, like, because there's something special about something that bonds people together that becomes memorable. I just want to say, like, the other side of that, we had a social event at the upstairs room at the old Bag of Nails in Columbus that evening, and a lot of our riders were over there while we were, and Daryl and I were over there kind of helping with that while everyone else was addressing Pillowgate. And the most fun moment of that evening was the moment the Slick Tech system that we use for communication sent out a message that Paul Purdy had just purchased like every pillow they had at IKEA. So we got this text while we're all in this room together that we have real pillows, and like the cheer in that room was like,
We have it on video. I videoed that. It was the best thing ever. Everyone's pillows. It was great.
100 people stop and look at their phone.
Everybody gets this text. So yeah, I mean, Bob, I think you just commented it's some of the best support you've ever seen, and it truly is sort of next level. Like, hey, whatever comes up, like staff's gonna roll with it.
And I
take
looked
care
for,
of it.
I looked for a picture. I looked for a picture of it. I couldn't find it, but our staff is so great. The next night when we had a recognition dinner in Springfield that year, you go into the recognition dinner, and in the lobby, inflatable pillows everywhere. I mean, they were spelling out 328 and welcome and all this kind of stuff. So they rolled with it, made it a running joke.
Didn't mean to interrupt, but at first I'm like, how is this your favorite memory? I'm like, okay, because like those are the memories and the things that bond us together. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's it. That was the story. It was a good time. And yeah, a pallet of pillows was purchased from IKEA. So it was worth it.
That's hilarious. I was just gonna say, sometimes those situations that are really hard in the moment turn out being like the funniest of all time. But when I first started, Alyssa showed me the storage room, and she opened up 2 big bins, and I was like, what are all these pillows? And they're all like the IKEA wrapped ones.
Yep.
And she was like, don't ask. All right, Tony, do you want to give your favorite memory? And then Brian?
Sure. I'll kind of tie it into and answer your last question better too. The hardest part, again, Bill was with me at that time, so he would attest to this, but the most tired I was the beginning of the 3rd day. And it was about 11 o'clock that morning, but I had kind of learned to push myself and stay with Bill and anyone that was in the group, and it went easier than riding alone. And so I was feeling it, and I was tired, and it was getting hard. And we were at one rest stop before lunch. And one of the guys in that group that day said, so I'm looking on my phone and there's a huge thunderstorm about an hour out. If we really get on it and start pedaling hard, we can make lunch by then. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I can't go hard for an hour. But again, I think Bill and a few others stayed back with me because I wasn't able to push it. We got caught out. Bill rides up beside me. You still okay? And I mean, we were out in these cornfields. The wind was blowing the bike sideways. Because you're all right. I said, yeah, I am being blown around, but I'm okay. I'm going to follow your lead because you've done this before. And right about then, it just started pouring. And I think that was when the first lightning strike, just right to the ground. And, you know, sorry, I keep bringing up Bill, but he saved the ride because he spotted this open barn. And he pointed over at it and he goes, there's a barn, go for it, you know. And one other biker was already in there, and then Bill and I were in there. So that was the hardest part. The best part, I'm sorry, not the best part. What was the direct question on this one? Oh yeah, like the best memory or whatever was when finally the clouds parted and lots of people were going by in sag wagons. And I just told Bill, I got to ride every mile. I can't take that wagon in. And when it parted enough and Bill slowed me down a lot, he kept, well, let me just find one more thing in my bag. Because I said, I gotta go. Was when it parted and we got started again, you know, to start riding again. I was just so thankful. So I think that was one of the best memories for me. And I gotta say too, on those aid stations, just to back up what was said, everything is there. I had this ridiculous bag on the back of my bike thinking I was going to have to support myself and carry things. And I found out pretty quickly, everything was there. And one of the best things for me was saddle cream. Every time I was looking for that saddle cream table. So that's it.
Lots of chamois butter, and we will
Yes.
order more this year. Absolutely. Brian, do you want to go ahead and share your favorite memory?
Sure. I've been trying to think as I was listening to Tony. You know, certainly one of the favorites would probably be crossing the finish line the very first year that I did the event. Because I actually, you know, as exhausted as I am by the end, I always kind of get a adrenaline rush those last, you know, few miles going into the finish at the end, just knowing that it's there. You know, those storms and things certainly are great bonding moments too. You know, the times over the years where we've had to hide in barns and garages and porches and, you know, whatever with different people to stay dry and stay warm. Then probably another one is the first time we finished in Cleveland, because for most of the years that I've ridden, my parents and my kids who are 24, so grown kids at this point, but you know, little kids when I started, but they've come either to the kickoff dinner or the finish, whichever was in Cleveland, because my parents are in Pittsburgh and, you know, my kids are in the Cleveland area. So the first time we finished in Cleveland and they were at the finish line, because it was always nice to have them at the kickoff to, you know, say goodbye that night, but, you know, having them at that finish was really pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. You guys, this is great. I'm loving this. Everyone's smiling and having a great time. And it's so great to hear all these memories. And yeah, I'm loving it. So another question that we had in the chat is like kind of how long and hard do you guys train leading up to the ride? And so, you know, are you training your 60 to 80 miles? Or are you training 30 miles? You know, maybe just a little bit of insight on training prep. Are you going hard? Are you not overthinking it? Ben, do you want to give that a shot?
Yeah. All of my training rides somehow either start at breweries or end at breweries. And being in Dayton, they made it really convenient that a lot of breweries are on the bike trail. I mostly train on the bike path. It's not that I'm not comfortable on the road. I just prefer the bike path. So normally once the weather starts to get a little bit better, which happens around February, March-ish, I will start riding, and I just try to ride a little bit farther every day. I'm a night shift nurse, so it makes it kind of difficult to have like a consistent schedule, but I'll try to do like once it gets a little closer, like May, June, I'll try to do like a 30-40 mile ride once a week, and then try to stretch it out to do a longer ride, 50 like 50 or 60. But the first year I rode, the longest ride that I ever did training was only about 65 miles. This past year I did a lot better with like distant rides. But I just try to get out and ride as much as possible, whether it's 10, whether it's 20. I think just getting out on the bike is honestly some of the best training. It doesn't matter how far you ride, because just being out there is enough. And yeah, I started the Dayton breweries. So normally it's the new ones, like Warped Wing is down there, and somehow Carillon's right around the bike path, but that's neither here nor there. If you want the Ben's Brewery bike plan, get with me after and we can talk. I just saw this question in the chat. I can answer it real fast. Hank, the ride isn't all on trail. There is a decent amount of road riding, but I have never felt truly like unsafe on the road. We have, like we said, we have great support that kind of go up and down some of the roads as we ride. So I think only one time on a country road did somebody get like mad at me. But whatever, it happens.
So in regards
also
to
important. Oh, go ahead, Alyssa. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just a little quick add. It's also important to know that we really, Stacy and Daryl especially, they go through this entire route and make sure that like the roads are paved, and if there is construction, then we reroute. So we really, really pay attention to those things to make it, the easiest, safest for you guys. Go ahead, Alyssa.
That's exactly kind of what I was going to touch on as well. But, we are testing these roads every minute up until this ride happens. We go out and do an entire test of the ride as a staff and volunteer team the week before. Sorry. Right before the event. So we are looking through all of that. But then also we are going through every single piece of the ride as well with our volunteers. So like Stacy and Daryl might go out and do a part the week before. Bill and Randy have gone out and do a part. Ben has done some in Dayton. So it's really nice that we are able to kind of test each of those routes before. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, exactly. She's exactly right. But I just wanted to open up the floor if anybody had any other questions. Stacy or Daryl, if you wanted to add anything else. I know we're coming up to that 7 o'clock mark. So yeah, I just want to pass it over to you guys unless anybody wants to come off mute and ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, I can just add on route. I was just typing in the chat that, yeah, we do. Yeah, route preference is definitely a polarizing question. We have surveyed. Those of you that have been around for several years know we always send out a survey at the end of each ride to get feedback from our ridership of what they prefer. And on the question of do you prefer to ride on the roads versus the trails, I would say about a third of our riders strongly prefer trails, a third of our riders strongly prefer roads, and a third are like, I don't care, I just want to ride my bike. And it's true, because I think one of the things I love about Pan Ohio, and this kind of goes back to the training question and the support we have too, is that this ride is accessible for pretty much anyone that can ride a bike. we will have some riders that will be riding 22 miles an hour and cruise through their century day in 5 hours. We have some riders that will average 10 miles an hour and take, 10 to 12 hours to complete their century with lunch stops and breaks. And that's okay. We're accommodating for everyone. We have casual riders that prefer to ride slowly on a trail. But Hank, like you just mentioned, trails can be sketchy. If you've got groups of fast riders on a trail, that's unsafe too. So we try to provide a mix so that there's a little something for everyone. In some cases where it's possible, we will provide options where riders that are more comfortable with a more casual ride on the trail can stay on the trail, but we have a challenge route that's off trail on a neighboring road for those riders that maybe want to ride in a pace line or be a little faster. The safety is our top priority. We always want everyone to remember that this is a tour. It is not a race. So we want everyone to make sure they stay safe. But yeah, I mean, honestly, historically, more of our incidents by far and we've never had any like super serious incidents, but any little falls, crashes, wheel bumps or whatever happen on trails way more often than they happen on roads because people are just too crowded and there's other trail traffic. So
I'll add to that. I did a percentage calculation last year at some point along the way, and we were like 47-53 trail to road at one point along. So we really try to strike the balance as much as possible. And sometimes that decision is kind of made for us.
Yeah.
There are certain areas where, the trail is really the only route that's viable. And there's other times when the road is the only route that's viable. But one thing we really do try to avoid is starting the day on a trail, because that's dangerous. You don't want to have 200 people starting their day on a trail. We've had that happen in the past, and it's
a day when our riders are more spread out and it's not giant groups.
So when you get on the trail, by the time you're on a trail, and if you're on that trail for a good chunk of the day, the riders are already pretty spread out. So I wouldn't, if you're a new rider or you're considering riding, I wouldn't let trail crowdedness discourage you at all. It's usually by the time you're on the trail, it's a pretty comfortable.
I do. I was reading the chat too. I want to hear Kenny's lack of training story, but just to that too, to put anyone at ease that, back to being accessible to anyone. I just want to circle back to our amazing SAG team and give them another shout out for how incredibly supportive they are. They know where the riders are. They're there to pick you up if necessary. And, Kathleen's on the call tonight, and her comment always sticks with me that all the riders are going to finish the ride. Some of them might finish it on 4 wheels instead of 2, and that's okay. So if you ever feel like at any part in the day you can't finish the day, a SAG car will be waiting for you there, and you will finish the ride with a couple extra wheels, and that's okay. We got you covered. We're not going to leave you out there. But Kenny, I want to hear your story that you just alluded to in the chat.
Sure. So my first ride ended up being the 2020 Create Your Own. And on July 7th, as I was trying to get my miles in, I hit a storm and fell and broke my shoulder. And my registration had rolled over to the next year. So I said, well, I'm going to do it. And when I got to the starting line in 2021, the entire previous year, I had only ridden a total of 50 miles. And the first day did 72, I think. And I ended up doing about 270 over the whole 4 days. And I mean, I can't lie, I was a little bit sore at the end, but I was pretty impressed that I made it that far, having only done 50 miles total the entire year prior. So it's definitely doable as long as you can get on the bike.
How much chamois butter did you eat?
Honest, actually none. I just kind of just went.
I mean, I'm going to say good on you, because that particular year was, I think it was probably the hardest year we've ever done, because we didn't travel across Ohio. We didn't get a mix of farmland and river valley and flat, and the hills and everything. It had some challenges to it. So if you were able to do over, what did you say, 200 and something miles? With 50 miles of training. Good on you, man.
I always say, and I didn't really share too much of my story at the beginning, but I started this ride in 2008, so just 1 year longer than Brian here. It was year 2 of the Pan Ohio ride, and I wasn't really a big cyclist at all. I had just purchased a bike. It was like either the last week of April or the beginning of May. It's kind of my birthday present to myself to try to get a little healthier. So I had not been a cyclist before. I hadn't been on a bike for probably 10 years prior to that, since I'd been in college. So it was about 10 weeks. A friend of mine took me to an organized ride at the beginning of June, and we did a 30-mile route. And the first week of June, I showed up at this ride thinking it was crazy that we were about to ride 30 miles. That was nuts. But leaving there, someone had left a flyer on my car about the Pan Ohio Hope Ride, and I read it. And there's this photo of this woman that had a jersey that she had made that said, biking 300 miles in memory of my mom. And it just hit me because I had lost my dad. I'm like, I have to do this. And it was, like 8 or 9 weeks later, and I did ride my bike a lot for those 8 or 9 weeks. But when you show up there, I wasn't sure if I could finish it, but you do get caught up in the group, and there's someone there to ride with you. Whatever your speed is, you will find someone else that wants to ride your pace that will ride with you. It's amazing how quickly the miles go by when you're in a conversation with someone and you're sharing your stories of why you're there. You're hearing, what motivates them and what motivates you. And I always look at it as like cycling to me, and something like the Pan Ohio Hope Ride is like the best combination of an individual challenge and this amazing supportive team. So you're never going to be alone out there. We're going to get you through.
Yeah.
Brian has his hand up.
Yeah,
Did you say something, and then Brian's got his hand up.
I just want to quickly add to that like Tony's experience of having riders like Bill and Brian show up is not unique. That's really common. So again, if you're thinking about this and you're on the fence because you don't know if you, and it goes both ways. I think we've all been in that situation where we're not feeling it that day and we just kind of want to be left alone to just struggle through it. You can do that too, but that doesn't mean you're going to be left alone. Somebody's got to keep an eye on you. You're gonna have someone looking after you.
Brian's got a hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw in a couple of things about training and about the route. Most of the roads that we're on are the country roads, like Ben said. There are a few busier stretches, but Daryl and his team work really, really hard to keep us on those safest roads possible. As far as training, also kind of to echo what Ben said, it's as much about the time that you spend on your bike as it is about how many miles you put in. And I always try to look at it as it's not, an 80-mile day or 100-mile day. It's the next water stop is, 15 or 20 miles. And, I know I can get there and, get some food and get some hydration and, take a break if I need to, catch up with some people, and then go on to the next stop. So, the big number can seem overwhelming, but if you break it up into those little sections, that's another thing that makes it a lot easier.
Can I make a quick comment too? On both of those. One, I was a little concerned just because, again, I was so new and I hadn't even ridden a bike in 20 years before that. And the main point there was I thought the route was great. And it was kind of like it was broke up. Sometimes it was roads. And then about the time I'd be tired of roads, there'd be a flat trail mixed in, So I thought the course was amazing. It was really great. On the training, such a good point Brian brought back to me was I've done more running than biking, obviously. So I would go for like a short run in the morning, 5 or 6 miles or something, and then just jump on the bike for 30 minutes, and do 6 miles on the bike. So just trying to get my bottom used to sitting a long time, which one of your training videos, that woman, I think she was a triathlete or something, was kind of coaching us. She mentioned that. And so I started doing that, just try to sit on the bike at least 4 or 5 days a week. But so those two things. And the longest training ride I did was 60. I just did one at 60, but I have a little bit of an endurance background. So that helped me as well. That, and again, constant encouragement from the guy, Brian and Bill, that I was riding with most of those miles.
I think we have a
sorry.
training plan posted on the website somewhere too.
Yeah, we're going to revamp that. So that
That's what I was
was
gonna say, Brian.
Carrie McCoy that was on one of our panels last year about training. And I don't know if you caught this at the beginning of the call, but you know who Carrie McCoy's coach was? Bob Duncan. So we have the coach of our coach with us now on staff. So yeah, I think Carrie's going to help us refresh that, and we'll get that posted again, probably with some input from Coach Bob here. So definitely we'll be with you every step of the way on that. But yeah, I think we're not going to do as many of these calls this year, but we will probably do another enrichment series, and probably January or February, kind of focused around some of that training, 6 months out. That'd be great. So yeah, thank you for sharing all that. This has been great.
And now we all have to call him Coach Bob.
Coach Bob.
Coach Bob.
I feel like that's gonna stick. Careful.
At least it's not old man Bob. We're good.
Well, Olivia or Alyssa, did you have any final comments or anything else from the panelists before we roll back into event announcements?
I would just say, I think it'd be real cool if we, like 2 more seconds, if everyone, all 3 of our panelists could just say what they're most excited for about 2023. What has you pumped right now? What has you excited and taking it to the next level as we, get rolling for this next year? So Ben, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm excited just to be more involved, which feels like a cop-out of an answer, but I've ridden, I've volunteered, and now I'm like extra volunteering. So I'm just excited to help plan it and then to ride again. And I don't know, I get emotional at the start and I get emotional at the end. So it's a great 4 days, and I'm just excited to live Pan Ohio now forever. So I mean, I'm just excited. I'm just excited for the upcoming couple of months.
Brian, Tony, did you have anything to add to that too?
Tony, you want to go?
Sure. I honestly, to see everybody again, I've been kind of staying in touch with a couple of the guys here that I rode with, and that's been fun. We just text once in a while and such, but yeah, just to see the people again and everything. And I love the challenge, and I want to ride every mile again. So just to get on the bike and do it again, both of those things.
That's awesome. I will say that this was my first Pan Ohio, and one of like the most special moments for me was on day 1, as Alyssa was saying, like the buses drop everybody off from the different cities. And it was like so heartwarming to see people see their old friends from different cities, like waiting for them at the buses. I don't know, it just drives home the fact of like the Pan Ohio family. Like that's a really special moment. So thanks for sharing, Tony.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are so great, and I have
Brian's turn. Brian,
sorry,
That's okay. No, I mean, definitely, I always look forward to seeing everybody and to meeting new people. I'm not one to usually toot my own horn, but I'm getting close to $100,000 in total fundraising. So I'm really trying to push. It's going to be another 11,000, I think, this year, but I'm really trying to push that for everybody who I ride for.
So
that is awesome.
3 things.
Thanks.
And I'll go backwards. Brian, as you know, Kathleen always says, reach the goal.
Raise the
And raise the goal, yeah.
So 100,000 is not the end of the line for Brian. For Ben, I will say that I always joke that when you are like an extra volunteer, people always say that you're a rock star. No, it's not about being a rock star. It's about being the rhythm section.
Yeah.
The rhythm section is keeping the beat in the background. They're staying out of the way. They're letting people take the spotlight. You're keeping the thing going. So we're great. We're very, very happy to have you on our team, and we're looking forward to working with you. And Coach Bob, I will say, you can't be the old guy. Well, you can kind of be the old guy, but you only beat me on first century ride by a couple of years. So
Awesome. Been around the block several hundred times.
Yeah, good company on that with this. It's awesome. And thanks, Brian, for bringing it back to fundraising as well, because I think like absolutely hats off to you. 100,000. Brian is a perpetual Dynamo Club member, so for new riders we do have some fundraising levels, while everyone needs to get to that 1328 to ride with us and earn their jersey. At $5,000 raised, you join our Dynamo Club. At $7,500 raised, you become a Dynamo Trailblazer. And at $10,000 raised, you are a Dynamo Beacon. And Brian has perpetually been in that Dynamo Club. So, even though I've been around a year longer than Brian, he has far surpassed me in fundraising because he rocks it every year. But I think what's awesome about our event too, that I just love, is that our minimum's 1328, but our riders don't stop at the minimum. Like, our average raise per rider is well over $3,000, which is absolutely astonishing for an event like this. In 2019, we hit our top fundraising mark over $1 million with like 300 riders. So like, yeah, $3,300 per rider on average. So certainly you don't have to do that. If that's not your thing, that's okay. I don't raise that much money. We give of our talents and time instead. But those people that continue to strive far beyond the minimum are just incredible. So hats off to you, Brian. Ben Heil, you were at that Beacon dinner with us last year. Paula Hendricks, you were there at that Beacon dinner last year. And we just appreciate you so much. But whatever you can do, we like to say a lot of people join because it's a cool ride across Ohio. And the first year, even Daryl did this his first year. He just wrote a personal check to cover his minimum and didn't really do fundraising. And then you get pulled in to the mission after that. So people will join for the ride, but they will stay for the fight. And so, if you're new this year, I definitely hope you'll join us for the ride this year, and then stay to join us for the fight and help us drive that average up. So just absolutely amazing community is what I would say. And with that, just opening it back up, does anyone have any more questions? I have a couple more photos I want to share, actually. And I do have some event announcements I may come back to, but just before we get too far away from this, I'm wondering if anyone knows, where was this photo taken? Go ahead and throw that in the chat. Where is this photo? Coming at you from Pillowgate 2019. Just had to share that. Kathleen sent that to me while we were on this call after. Yeah, points to Bill Wallahan. Yes, that is Otterbein University, the inflatable pillow. Thanks, Kathleen. Excited to have Kathleen with us tonight, actually, too. Our founding co-chair. Kathleen, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you want to share anything with us tonight? She's been kind of there in the background.
She might have things
going on. And that's okay. Let me run through some event announcements. Then if anyone wants to stick around and play where in the Pan Ohio is that, we can definitely do some more of that. But first of all, just thank you so much to Alyssa and Olivia for leading our discussion tonight, to Bob for joining. Seriously, if you have any questions throughout the event, those are your go-to people. Best thing, if you do have any questions, is to email panohioinfo@cancer.org. Willie V, wait, sorry, I just got distracted by me. Oh my goodness, he's getting big. panohioinfo@cancer.org though, and then one of our staff members will take care of you, but your faces of your go-to people there. And yeah, with that, I'm just going to run really quickly through a couple of these doing event announcements. I can share my screen again here. Okay, announcements. Just off my screen. Someone asked earlier about registration and minimums. So we did cover the 4-day rider registration and minimum. The minimum's $13.28. Registration fee is $195 on that. Just a quick note. Our registration increase is coming up. So if you are not already registered, you have until December 31st to register at that $195 rate before that goes up to $225. But if you are a first-time rider, please email us because we have a code for a 50% off registration discount for first-time riders. We're also going to raffle one off in a minute. So maybe one of you first-time riders. And actually, if you are new to us, a brand new first-time rider, if you could shoot Olivia a quick message too, we'd like to give you an extra entry into our raffle. We're going to be raffling off some extra incentive points, a swag item, and a free registration. But yeah, so 4-day riders, $195, $13.28 minimum. If you'd like to join us for just 2 of the days, you can register for $100 at a $750 minimum. And if you'd like to join us for 1 day, $50 registration fee and a $500 minimum. We also have an option if you're a more casual rider, can't be here in person with us. One of the things that we're keeping from our virtual years is the Create Your Own 328 program. So you can challenge yourself to ride 328 miles on your own time throughout the month of July. That's a $35 registration fee and no actual minimum. We'd love it if you raised $328, you know, $1 a mile, but you can do that on your own. You are still eligible for all of our other incentives. You'll still get a t-shirt and a medal and still be part of the event, but you can do it on your own time throughout the month of July. We also have a registration option for supporters. So, you know, we didn't get a chance to talk about volunteer opportunities too much tonight, but there are a ton of volunteer opportunities as well. If you're not a rider, or if you know someone that would like to support you on this ride, we have people at every water stop, at the colleges at the start and finish of the day, our SAG drivers, truck drivers, everybody moving that luggage for you. We have a core group of volunteers that stays with us for all 4 days. And we also have lots of opportunities for people that maybe just want to come for one day or a part of one day. So Pan Ohio supporters can still go ahead and register on our website though. It's a free registration. There's no fundraising minimum, but you can still get a personalized dashboard. So if you want to ask for contributions to support you in volunteering, you can do that. And then that also gets you on our email list to get all the communications and stuff. So again, all this is on the website at pohr.org if you want to check that out. Another thing I wanted to bring up tonight is the gifting registration website. So we have a give sign up page, givesignup.org/ticket event/POHR. A lot of people are not into things this year. Maybe they want experiences instead of things for the holidays. You can give the gift of any one of those registration levels to anyone. We also have an option. We have a scholarship program. So if people for some reason feel that their registration fee is a barrier to entry to be able to come do Pan Ohio, we have a matching system where people that make gifts of registrations, we can match those funds up with people that need them. So if you want to check out a great gift idea or just make a contribution to the Pan Ohio Scholarship Fund to help someone who can't pay their own registration, that's awesome. Another quick announcement, Scott alluded to this when he said the 17th is coming to try to drum up some ridership in Canton, but we do have another round of upcoming in-person socials coming up in January. So Tuesday, January 17th will be at Codex Brewing in Canton. On Thursday, the 19th will be at a location TBD in the Cleveland area. Tuesday, the 24th, TBD in Cincinnati and Dayton, most likely Moeller Brewworks in Monroe, but we're waiting to confirm with them. And then on Wednesday, the 25th, we'll be at Combustion Brewing in Clintonville in the Columbus market. So would love to see you all in person to come out to those. It's a great opportunity to connect with other riders and volunteers, invite other people to come hear about Pan Ohio. Have a beer, because obviously we all like our beer too. I'm excited. Combustion is actually going to donate back 10% of their proceeds from the whole day to us. So, you know, even if you're not interested in Pan Ohio, or if you have friends, encourage them to come out and at least have a beer with us and hear about the ride. And I think it is time for our raffle. So Olivia has been diligently taking attendance and putting tickets in a hat. So Olivia, I'm going to turn this over to you. I think we are raffling.
So sorry if you're a Bengals fan, but this is
Bengals hat. I think we have.
This is the Browns hat.
Brownie.
But I'm sorry if you're in Southern Ohio. This is all my fiance.
Where's your Pan Ohio hat?
I know, right? Or what are we raffling off first?
Let's do some incentive points. 20 extra incentive points.
We have Hank Sway. I don't think he's on anymore.
I think Hank did say he had to drop off earlier,
Yep.
so we'll hold on to that and get it. I think he's a new rider that has not yet registered, but we'll hold on to that and get him credit for that as soon as he registers. How about a swag item? Alyssa, I don't know what you got up in the office up there in Cleveland, but some sort of Pan Ohio swag item out of the warehouse.
All kinds of stuff.
Oh, Bob's got his bracelet. Show that again, Bob. Bob got a bracelet today.
All right.
So I think we have like some gloves and some socks and some other things in stock. So we'll hook up with you and get you something.
Joyce Hine.
Joyce. And that,
He's on. Woo!
is that, yeah, the Hines is. Congratulations. We will be in touch to get that.
Yes.
Woo! Congrats.
Thank you.
And then our big raffle prize of the evening a
Is
free
this-
registration. So this is open. Olivia, did you get new riders in there, an extra entry into this?
Yeah, I did. Mhm.
Okay, awesome. If you're already registered, then you can use this to convince someone else to ride with you by giving it away to them. You can raffle it off for donations. You can do whatever you want with it if you're already registered, but our free registration goes to
Kent Davis.
and
Yeah.
Kent.
Oh, he's
Are you
on.
registered yet, Kent?
Awesome.
He's on. I don't know if he's still here or if he's stepped away, but congratulations, Kent.
Nope, just came off mute.
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just,
No problem.
I am in the Akron area. Don't know if I'm gonna do this individually or in a team, but I am going to do my best. I'm an old rider from 40 years ago and I need to do this while I still can. So,
Yeah.
so thank you all for your encouragement.
yeah. Kent, I'm over in Fairlawn. So shoot me a message or something. We
And
can
you're Brian?
get
Okay, good.
yeah.
I know, is it the turtle herd? Is that the?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
are those the guys in Akron? That's how I found out about this.
Paul Musa's in the Medina area.
Yeah, that's who I know. Paul and I
Yeah,
ran
some
a
of them are in the
men's
Cleveland
group
area,
together.
some are around Medina, Akron. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on a free registration now. And I guess you can join the old guy club over here with Bob and Daryl.
I'm the older guy, so thank you all.
Welcome. Well, that's all I have. We're going to leave the call open if anyone else wants to chat, share stories, ask questions, just hang out,
Yeah.
pour yourselves a beer, share whatever you want to share, like just open hangout time. But
Yeah.
thank you all so much. I will stop the recording before that. But thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure to hear all the memories and the stories. Hopefully new people got some insight into what this Pan Ohio thing is all about along the way. And if you do have any other questions, again, panohioinfo@cancer.org. I can put that in the chat as well. Is your best bet to get a message through, and whoever on staff is available will get right back to you on that.
Yeah.
And we're just excited to finish out the year and move on into 2023. So thanks for being here tonight, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Paula.